Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Liberty First Foundation Weekly Roundtable. With me, I have Michael Vasquez. And as you notice, Frank's not here tonight. He's out playing Pew Pew. He's out actually doing a long distance shooters competition and providing coverage for Liberty First Foundation. And he's also doing some work with 5150 Rifles while he's there. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some showcases from him about that trip. And we'll see several articles and videos, I'm sure, come up from it. How's your week been, Mike?
It was doing pretty good until we had the economic numbers come out. We had Jamaal Bowman being, an insurrectionist. And then we have the immigration flip-flop, RFK. I mean, that's just a couple of the big things that I noticed this week. Just crazy. This is just insane. We're in an insane period of time.
Yeah, we are. Okay. And the Trump fraud charges in New York. Evening, Jan. Welcome. And Governor Newsom's appointment for California senator to replace the late Dianne Feinstein.
Laphonza Butler. What a special import. I tell you, what a diversity hire she is.
Yeah. And that is exactly it. They didn't appoint her due to her ability. They literally appointed her based upon how she looks. And she hit so many of the liberal advocacy check marks.
Well, progressive.
Or progressive, yeah.
And it's interesting to me that, in California, at least the capital of progressivism in the West, Laphonza Butler, they had to go to Maryland to find a black lesbian activist union busting progressive.
Oh,
they don't have any of that in California.
Hold on a second.
And she's young. So that was another big factor. Every black woman, every woman, and going down the list, everyone who's qualified, and whether they happen to be men or women, if they happen to be black or white, if they have to be gay or straight, if they're a Democrat or a progressive, they all should be very insulted right now that Gavin Newsom had to look throughout all of California and the tens of millions of people they have there and said, none of you guys are good enough. We got to go and get someone from Maryland to be a senator to represent you. And by the way, and here's the thing they always leave out. She's rich. This is
okay, so she lives in Maryland. She's been living there since 2021. Okay, so here's the summary of qualifications in order to be a senator in the state of California. Every candidate has to be a U.S. citizen, be a registered voter or otherwise qualified to vote for that office at the time the nomination papers are issued to the person. If she's been living in Maryland and is not...
She owns a house in California.
Okay.
And that's the thing when I say she's rich. The average person in America making about $35,000 doesn't own a home. And for those of us in the middle class or poor people who are struggling to have a home, we're not rich enough to have a home that we don't have to live in and can live in another state and work there. She's making in the six figures. She's rich. So again, not connected to the people of California or who she's going to represent, especially in Dianne Feinstein's district, where people are homeless, drug addicts, and defecating on the streets. There's no connection.
Right. Okay, but not being convicted of a felony involving or accepting, giving, or offering or to give any bribe, the embezzlement of public money, extortion or theft of public money, perjury, or conspiracy to commit any of those crimes. If he or she was first elected to the legislature after June 2012 and has not previously served in the state Senate or Assembly during his or her lifetime, served no more. Okay, so this is actually for state senator.
She qualifies. She makes the bare minimum, and the bare minimum is that she has a residence in California, so therefore she can claim she's a California resident, even though she's living and is a registered voting resident of Maryland until about 19 days ago, which is when she switched back so that she could get the appointment. They were going to do this whether Dianne Feinstein died or not. They knew she was going to die because she suddenly switched her residency back to California just before this all happened. They knew she was going to die, and they were trotting Dianne Feinstein around like a puppet on strings, telling her like a ventriloquist dummy, telling her what to say and what to do. They knew she was going to die. They knew she was on her last leg, and they had so little respect for Dianne Feinstein or her family, they wouldn't let her die with dignity in her home with her family around. They trotted her around like a dog and pony show and just had her say whatever they wanted her to do and used her for the political capital as much as they could up to the second she died. And these are the people who are the empathetic ones they keep telling us.
Okay, she is actually disqualified. She does not qualify according to California state law. She has to be registered to vote in California. And Butler's defenders have noted that she intends to re-register as a California voter.
Oh, I thought
owning property is not enough. She has to be a registered voter in the state of California.
Okay, I thought that when she moved her residency back, her primary residency back, that she had moved her. Well, that was a loophole. They missed something. But I mean, to me, this is a farce. It's a political farce. And they needed someone, and I think it's obvious to everyone that they had no empathy, and all they needed was a tool, a yes woman, to replace Dianne Feinstein and to hit all the DEI targets so they can have all the checks in the check boxes so that they could look good and say, see, we kept our promise. DEI, it's so great for everyone. You're black, vote for us. You're gay, vote for us. That's all they wanted. They don't care. And, I had this argument with someone on TikTok because they did a video on this. And they're like, well, why are you so upset? She's only going to be there for 7 months. No, she's going to be there for 15 months. And that's 15 months voting in the Senate, which will change our life. She's voting on things that are affecting international politics, domestic politics. Mm-hmm. We have a yes woman who is only there to push a partisan agenda and has no purpose. This is insulting at every level, I think.
Oh, it is. Okay. She's been a union advocate, which that in and of itself is not that big of a deal. Though many of you know how I feel about unions. And honestly, I don't believe the federal government should be involved in unions at all, one way or another. Okay. I think that that should be a state prerogative, not federal prerogative, under the basis of, well, actually, we've had that argument too. where employment is actually a state purview, not a federal purview. Even with businesses that do business across state lines, employment is generally within the state. Okay. The money stays within the state normally, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that right there kind of disqualifies federal government from being involved in the union, even trying to usurp control of unions or the regulation of unions under the Commerce Clause. She's also LGBTQ. She is so she'll be the first openly LGBTQ person to represent California in the Senate. She'll also be the first Black lesbian to openly serve in Congress in American history.
Also meaningless. Meaningless.
And the second Black woman to represent California in the Senate following Vice President Kamala Harris. Also okay, and they're saying that this is all huge historical landmarks, and honestly, they're not. Okay, there have been other openly gay people serving in the Senate and in Congress. Just because she's Black shouldn't matter.
Well, none of those are factors that have anything to do with is she qualified and can she do the job. I don't care about those things. No one should. But it's a great distraction because if you say, oh, none of that matters, well, then you must be racist and sexist. No, I'm more concerned about, are you efficient and effective? I could care less. She could be.
I need to go for just a little bit.
Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
All right. But Jeremy, tell me, am I wrong in my feeling here that regardless of her race, regardless of her sex, regardless of who she wants to sleep with and how many of them, I don't care. I don't care her resume of partisanship and how dedicated she is to the progressive movement. None of that matters unless she's actually going to do a good job for the people of California. Am I wrong?
Well, no, you're 100% right. And the crummy part of it is they don't care about any of that. They care about status. They care about what you want to call yourself. They care about what you're going to identify as and what you're going to allegedly do for the people. They don't care what you're actually going to do to the people, and no one wants to admit that.
You know, that's what makes me feel really bad about this. Besides the elder abuse that we just got to see on display and how little the Democrats and the progressives care about any of their people, which is why we have seen a slew of people just this year. There's been 5 people just this year who left the Democratic Party, Black women, men. They left the Democratic Party, all of them saying exactly what we saw just happen with Dianne Feinstein. You're a puppet. You're supposed to say yes to whatever the party says. You're a party line all the way, or you're going to be punished. And they'll do that until someone's dead. As bad as that is, to trot this woman out. And again, you mean to tell me in California, you couldn't find one other person with the same qualifications as this woman in Maryland? Not even one?
Right. No, she's bought and paid for, that's for sure.
And I think that's the thing that sealed the deal. I think that was the thing that actually sealed the deal is, oh, no. She's party line. She's a true believer. So she's in. And if you don't agree, well, you must be the racist and sexist. You must have a problem with that.
Right. No, you can't disagree with the party. And no matter what it's on, if you don't agree with what's hot at the moment, you're wrong. And you're a bigot. And you're a racist and a sexist and a homophobe and everything else they can throw at you, no matter what.
Well, it's meant to silence us. We can't talk about those things. You just can't say that. You just have to stop speaking. Why? Because you haven't proven me wrong.
It no longer. Well, yeah. And it no longer matters that you're a minority because you're not the minority that they care about at the moment, or you're not enough of a minority. Yes, you're Black, but you're not gay, you're not Democrat, you're not blah, 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 blah. So eventually it's going to be, well, how many things do I have to be before somebody's me? I'm out. I'm white. It doesn't matter. No one's ever going to listen to what I have to say. Too late. It happens. Straight white, religious male. Oh, God forbid. Oh no, I said the bad word. But no one will ever listen to what I have to say.
It's crazy to me. And it's not the way. See, this brings me back to my big problem with equity. And tell me if you agree with my definition. Equity is actively transforming people into categories, dividing those categories infinitely. There's always a subdivision of the categories, and you're using those categories to giving them arbitrary levels of power and importance, and you're re-ranking it on a regular basis so that people are constantly fighting to be the important person of the moment and get nothing done. Equity is the way you destroy a nation.
Right. One of my favorite chats was from about 6 months ago when we were talking about the difference between equity and equality and what it's doing to the American people.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Yeah. And basically, it was the same thing we're talking about now. And I think this is yet another great example of what we're seeing with that. It's just horrendous to me. Go ahead. Oh, I
was agreeing with you. No.
Okay. So Laphonza is, I mean, she's just special. So special. And the news media wanted us to focus on that as hard as possible so we didn't notice Jamaal Bowman. So we didn't notice that Jamaal Bowman, by the definition of Democrats, committed insurrection. And I think they were, which is one of the reasons why they're so busy trying to promote Laphonza and trying to make everyone look at her and go, see, black woman, you got to talk about the black gay woman. You got to talk about that. And you got to be positive about it. And don't talk about the straight black progressive from New York that just committed an act of insurrection according to the Democrats. Again, I'm going by their definition of insurrection, which is disrupting the operation of Congress. So that's their definition. Am I right, Jeremy?
Right.
Okay. So I'm not taking them out of context. I'm not adding anything to this. This is what they blamed on 300,000 people on January 6th of 2021. This is what they blamed them with. Disrupting the operation of the government in its regular business. Jamaal Bowman knowingly walked up to a fire alarm that says fire with signs that say fire, emergency exit only, took down the signs so that no one would notice it and pulled the fire alarm on purpose so that he would stop Congress because everyone had to leave the building. They couldn't continue a vote that he didn't like. That's interrupting the operation of government. According to the Democrats, direction.
Yes.
Why is he not in jail for 5 years? Because he already admitted he did it. So it's not a question of, is he guilty? Besides the fact we have video of it, he admitted he did it.
Yeah, you've got documented evidence and you have a guilty plea, but they don't care. It doesn't fit their agenda. It's not what they want. If it was any, and I believe, if I remember right, he was a Democrat or a liberal, but if it was any conservative who had done that, oh, God forbid.
No, Jamaal Bowman is a progressive. He ran as a progressive. Okay. He's part of the Progressive Caucus, along with AOC, Cori Bush, and in particular, Hakeem Jeffries.
Okay.
Hakeem Jeffries is also a progressive leader of the Progressive Caucus and the head of the the Democratic whip in the House.
I don't want to sidebar too far, but
Sure.
What is happening with that nut job AOC right now? I haven't heard that name for a minute.
She's been laying low because immigration, it seems, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but it would seem that allowing illegal aliens to enter your nation because you have no border doesn't bring in money. It actually costs you money.
Yes.
And she doesn't want to go to the border. Remember when she showed up in Texas and during the Trump administration, took a picture next to a parking lot fence and said, "Oh, I feel so bad about the kids," and has never gone back to the border, even though Biden has the kids in the cages.
Kids in cages.
Even though New York City has 120,000 illegal aliens, her constituents in Queens are being thrown out of hotels, out of shelters. Moms and children are being thrown onto the street. So these illegal aliens can go and live for we're going to spend $60,000 of taxpayer dollars to take care of these illegal aliens, and they are not stopping.
Isn't it 60,000 per family or per individual?
Per individual.
Whoo! Damn. I wish I got that kind of treatment.
Just do the math. Look at how much New York City is spending on each and every one of them.
What did you say? 120,000?
120,000, and we're spending $12 billion. They actually upped the number.
Damn. Well, 12 billion there, not to mention Frank put up the numbers, how many $80 billion we left in Afghanistan, and the billions and billions we waste on everything else, and it's just unbelievable how good we are at throwing away money.
But not towards the poor, not to feeding kids, not to take care of veterans or the homeless.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, again, the people who tell us they are the most compassionate, the Democrats and progressives, that they're going to take care of everyone, are spending money on none of those things.
Well, what's the median wage in the U.S.? $35,000 a year?
Yes.
So just for all the average Joes out there making $30,000 to $35,000 a year, they're giving double your annual salary to illegal aliens.
Yes. Yes.
They don't care about you.
No. And they think that somehow the illegal aliens won't keep coming. It's like, wait a minute, if you gave me a hotel room, if you said, "Mike, go to, I don't know, Wisconsin, and we will put you into a 3 or 4-star hotel, and we're going to give you $60,000 to live in that hotel room. And by the way, the more people we get to come from New York into Wisconsin, we're going to give them the money too." Do you think I wouldn't call up my friends, my family, anyone who is in between jobs and say, "Hey, come on over to Wisconsin for a while. Let's go to Michigan for a while." Why? It's $60,000. It's free money in a hotel.
Yep.
Someone will bring the food to you. Someone will clean the room for you. Oh, you have internet access. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? And
absolutely. I mean, let's see. You get 4 people. That's almost $250,000 a year between the 4 of you to live in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
welcome back. So
sorry about that. Tracy just got home from work, and I was helping her get settled.
No problem.
You're good. We're just
no. We touched slightly on Jamaal Bowman. We touched slightly on the illegal aliens and AOC.
Yeah, I want to go back to Jamaal Bowman.
Yeah. So my big thing was that the whole thing about Laphonza Butler is meant to be a distraction so that, one, you're silenced because you can't say anything. Otherwise, you're a sexist and racist unless you say, "Yes, she's the greatest thing that has ever happened to our government." So that everyone's not paying attention to Jamaal Bowman, who admitted that he pulled the fire alarm during the regular operation of Congress. And according to Democrats, as they define it for January 6th, the thing they blame 300,000 people in doing is interrupting the regular operation of our government.
Right.
Therefore, by their definition, not mine, their definition, Jamaal Bowman is an insurrectionist, and he should be facing 5 years in jail and lose his seat. Am I
Exactly.
wrong?
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, he should be barred from ever holding office again. Because that's the same thing they're trying to utilize against Trump to prevent him from running for president in 2024.
oh,
Is they're trying to say that he was involved in an insurrection on January 6th. Okay, so by their definitions, Jamaal Bowman also needs to be brought up on these same exact charges. The same with Chuck Schumer and his incident in front of the Supreme Court, which involved protesters attacking the Supreme Court and shutting down the court.
Good point.
AOC also needs to be charged with insurrection for her protest in front of the office of the Speaker of the House. And when she and the protesters that she was involved with prevented entry and the operation of government by preventing the Speaker of the House to utilize their office. And there are several others I'm sure that we can go through and find as well. Now, actually, here's another one. Okay, Kamala Harris was involved in insurrection, or complicit in insurrection, and paying for the bell for people involved in the protests that were attacking federal offices across the nation.
Oh yeah, during the
riots,
actively was paying for during the
Yes.
What's his name? The drug addict, the violent criminal. What's his name? George Floyd. During the George Floyd protests in 2020,
right?
She actively, while running for the vice presidency, was actively sending money.
No, not running for vice president. She is actually a candidate for the president.
That was in 2019. In 2020, she was vice president.
Okay.
She was vice presidential candidate then. She'd already dropped out because only 5% of Democrats actually like her.
Okay. I mean, and then why wasn't anybody charged with insurrection when they assaulted the White House during those riots?
May 20th of 2020, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I remember the date, folks. You're not supposed to remember these things. I do.
Okay. I mean, these are multiple things where we are seeing literally an abuse of power, where they are utilizing power that they hold to punish anybody that disagrees with their agenda, is what it amounts to.
Well,
okay? And then they protect people that are on their side that are guilty of the very offenses that they're charging the people that they want.
Well, you got to think this is coming from the same idiots who defended and praised the Chaz and Chad, that Capitol Hill autonomous zone, and who thought that was the greatest thing ever. And those are the people that are praising that kind of stuff. We can't be surprised that this is what they're doing now.
No, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm also going to call out the hypocrisy.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right.
Okay. I'm absolutely going to call out the hypocrisy that's going on. Okay. And the fact that, another thing, okay, the Attorney General for the state of New York, Letitia Jones, and her filing so many things against Trump, claiming nobody is above the law, but yet it is obvious that Andrew Cuomo was obviously above the law, because none of the charges that she's investigating him for have gone anywhere since he's resigned from office.
You mean when she started investigating and had allegations of 7 acts of sexual assault,
Right.
and she found 11 acts of
Mhm.
sexual assault, actually found the evidence, which would then mean she should be prosecuting, because she not only found the crime, she found more crimes. And this is separate of the 16,000 people that were ordered to be killed under Andrew Cuomo. But she found 11 acts of sexual assault, and she decided, but we're just not going to move forward with that. She never
And
gave a
Cuomo
good
all
reason.
but admitted to it.
Yeah.
Because he outright apologized.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
And she never gave a reason why she shouldn't go forward with it.
right. Never. Okay, so don't tell me nobody's above the law. Because obviously, if you happen to be of the correct political persuasion, you are above the law.
So it would seem. I mean, I want to come back to Jamaal Bowman again, because again, we're seeing yet another, and this is the most recent example of this 2-tiered system. If you or I, anywhere in America, decided to pull a fire alarm and get caught doing it just to disrupt people's lives, that's a crime. As a matter of fact, in New York State, you can get charged up to $10,000, 6 months in prison for pulling a false fire alarm. That's in New York City, in New York State alone, you can get up to $10,000 and 6 months in jail.
Well,
That's
I know
how
what I'm doing
serious
next
this is.
summer.
Huh?
So I know what I'm doing next summer.
Yeah, right. It just drives me nuts. So, and here he comes out, and he has the gall to say to his constituents and the American people, "Oh, I just thought it would open the door. I have no idea how a fire alarm works." Are you kidding me? Either
Yeah.
he is,
He knew exactly what he is doing.
of course, but let's go with his logic. So he has presented the American people with 2 choices. Either you think that Jamaal Bowman is a point blank absolute liar, which means he is deceptive and he is not qualified to be a member of Congress, or you take him at his word and he is so stupid that he is not qualified to be a member of Congress. Those are the only 2 choices you have there. And Democrats are saying, but he's a progressive and he's black, so you really can't talk about this. Why not? That's the choices he gave us. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Okay. I mean, those are the exact choices that he gave you, gave the people. Okay. And the thing is we are also seeing a very big trend here. Okay. AOC, what state she represent?
New York.
Chuck Schumer, what state he represent?
New York.
Jamaal Bowman, what state does he represent?
Also New York, along with Hakeem Jeffries.
Okay.
Gee, what? Notice how many progressives you just mentioned in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty New Yorkers.
But
Wait.
notice how many insurrectionists, according to their definition of insurrection, I just named, that are from New York, openly serving in office.
Yeah. And that's, it's amazing that the mainstream news media, this is why the mainstream news media has lost all the trust of the American people. Not one member of the main news media has asked, gee, this qualifies as insurrection. Why are you not charging him with insurrection? Not one has asked that question directly.
Because they're all afraid to go against the party. They know what'll happen.
It's so blatant. And even Democrats, when asked the question, have to stop and go, well, honestly, yeah, by their definition, he qualifies. This should be one of the bigger stories, and this story is already dead.
It is. Okay, the most recent, I just did a Google search on it. The most recent reporting I can find on it
Tuesday.
is 3 days ago.
Tuesday.
Everything else is 4 to 6 days old.
Yeah, they killed it. They killed the story on Monday. He admitted that he did it and said it was an accident. Who could have possibly known pulling an alarm, a fire alarm, falsely could have caused a commotion?
Now, on to this as well. Okay, do you remember all the disruptions that happened during the Kavanaugh hearings?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, where they literally had to recess because of the disruptions. Okay, how come none of those people were charged with insurrection?
Because they were going against the conservative.
Okay, the same thing happened during Gorsuch hearings.
Yeah.
Okay, why weren't none of those people charged with insurrection?
Because they were promoting. Again, we have case after case after case. And by the way, notice it's almost impossible to find a conservative or a Republican or a libertarian, even if you want to go there, that you can point to doing the same thing.
Right.
You can't find people. This is all from the far left. We can't find, even moderate Democrats don't do this. We can only find far leftists that consistently do these things and get away with it. And then we're surprised when they do it over and over again.
Well, you never hear about conservatives going and shooting up political baseball games either.
True.
It's just, it falls into the party over and over. It's not about the message. It's about the people that are involved.
Yeah. And they get reelected 88%.
Disgusting.
The thing is people keep calling, we got to have term limits, got to have term limits, got to have term limits. No, people, you need to do your damn job.
Just don't.
Everybody's for term limits when it comes to somebody that doesn't represent them. When it comes to somebody that represents them, no, they don't want term limits. They want to control how other states vote, how other districts vote. That's all term limits is about.
Jeremy, go ahead.
Yes. I was going to say it's about control, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, me and Mike, we're here in New York State. He's in upstate New York. I'm in New York City at the moment. But you're on the West Coast.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, right next to the West Coast. So when you're hearing people, when they were talking about either Jamaal Bowman, they're talking about Laphonza Butler, they're talking about the insurrection charges. What are they saying out there? Because I know the news media is not going to tell us what's happening off the coast outside of progressive capitals.
You know what the greatest part about that is? They're not talking about it. It doesn't come up. Even against the strongest conservatives out here and the few Democrats that I know, I honestly, until this conversation tonight, had never heard about Jamaal Bowman's or any of that stuff. I've heard about the Fawns because people making fun of her being the Fawns.
Yeah.
But other than that, not a peep.
They killed the story that effectively.
Oh, it's that bad, yeah. Well, and I've actually, in preparation, because it's been a while, I've been a little bit out of touch and everything. So I was going through the last couple of days and looking at what's happening right now and in politics and what's going on, and wanted to be able to talk about a few things tonight because, let's be honest, I've been out of it since Lindsay was diagnosed with cancer. And I come back to this and I'm like, holy shit, it's all the same, but it's different. It's the same story with different words this time.
It is amazing how much they repeat these things. And sadly, you can give people this article. You can show them the articles. You can say, Laphonza is unqualified to be a California senator. You can show them the video and the apology, the admission by Jamaal Bowman. And show them the word-for-word definition from Democrats on what an insurrection is, and they will look at this evidence that is empirically correct, and they will say, yeah, but I'm not sure. Because I don't know, somewhere along the line, we became, and AOC warned us about this when she went on to 60 Minutes and said, oh, it's not about being empirically, mathematically, or semantically correct. It's about feelings. And this is what we get as a result of that. This is modern politics.
This 100%. If you were to tell me that the Democrats came out and said the video 2,000 Mules is absolutely true, we did it, we admit to it, it was us, it would get killed so fast because it doesn't fit what they want. And right now, I hate to say it, but they're in control. They've got America by the short hairs, and they're proud of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and you can't even say they're doing it because they're making a profit. I mean, look at Disney. 10-year low on its stock price. No one's watching any of their programs. Ahsoka, miserable program, horrible content. What was it there for? To push Sabine. What's Sabine? Sabine is a Star Wars version of a progressive in space. Purple hair and all. And no one wanted to see it. No one cares. And everyone is rejecting politics as entertainment as it's being pushed out there, which is all brainwashing. And it's not, they're not looking to brainwash you, Jeremy, or me and Mike.
No, they want kids.
They want our kids.
100%.
They're going after our kids.
It was the most I could do, the least I could do to get my daughter on the Tuttle Twins books. And even those, because I'm worried about what's going to get snuck in, I have to go through and read them first. It disgusts me that I feel like I have to read the book before I give it to her because I'm afraid of what might get snuck in there.
Yeah.
Well, they rewrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They're rewriting the classics.
Well, they're erasing and rewriting history. I don't want to be that guy that gets canceled for this, but like, look at the Snow White movie and what they're doing with that. And it's like, the point was white as snow face. Ariel was Nordic, right? And I'm just waiting for like Mulan. What's it going to be? Some like fat white guy in a suit. What are we doing here? I'm so sick of this shit. Like,
well, I'm waiting for the first trans person of color Disney princess.
All right. 100%.
I don't know about Disney princess, but I think if the rumors were correct about the Snow White movie, one of the dwarves is trans.
Oh, but they're not even dwarves, if I remember right.
No, they're not.
And let's take I wish I had my references, and I don't. There was a show where somebody was playing a bisexual cartoon, and because the actress was not actually bisexual, they fired her and they had to go hire someone else who was to play the role because it was derogatory, blah, 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 towards LGBTQA, whatever alphabet soup is going on now, because she wasn't actually bisexual in a cartoon.
Wait a minute. So an actor who pretends to be people got fired because they weren't actually what they were pretending to be, which is their job.
Bingo.
Okay, that makes
color purple,
huh?
Okay, or she starred in Color Purple.
Is that what it was?
Who was in it? Who was it?
Just some no-name voice actor.
No, that's a different story. I'm sorry, but here, okay, they're doing a remake of The Color Purple.
Oh God!
An actress was fired because she has a rule against playing gay roles. Okay, Saya Umba. Yeah, that's OMBA. Ooba. So I'm sorry if I butchered her name.
Omuba?
Close enough. Close enough for me.
When past homophobic remarks resurfaced that had a rule playing gay roles and didn't understand that the main character was in a same-sex relationship.
Yeah, but nowadays, you could to say that I don't know that boys and girls shouldn't use the same bathroom is tantamount to being anti-gay. You could say something that obvious. You could say the Loudonville scenario where a boy pretending or whatever you want to call it, a boy being in the girls' bathroom repeatedly led to sexual assaults against 9-year-old girls, and that this policy is a problem because of that literal legal problem, something that went to the courtrooms. He was convicted of the crimes. This was covered up. There was an investigation. This was all so fact checkers can go to hell. Everything I'm saying here is absolutely correct by the letter of the law and reporting by all news media. And if you were to say that today, someone's going to, if you said it then as it was happening and someone looks at you today, they will say, oh, but you're a sexist, racist, homophobe because you don't agree with men and women using the same bathroom. Even though you're talking about a case where that same scenario was abused. So to say that she's anti-gay, maybe she is, maybe she's not. I don't know. I don't care. They're actors. I don't really value them all that much other than whatever role they may do. But she may have said something as innocuous or as fact-based as what the example I just made, and they would still say, oh, well, that's anti-gay, so there you go. That's how biased the system is. But
I am going to be right back.
All right. But let's bring that back. Again, these are all examples of how far the system has gone into a two-tiered system skewed against the average American. This is why they are destroying America. Because
it is.
How do you support this?
And honestly, in the 80s and 90s, most people really didn't give a shit what color you were, what your sexual persuasion was, or any of that stuff. What's brought this to light most recently is all this quote unquote woke agenda bullshit. Okay. And that is what has ramped up a lot of the problems that we are seeing today. Okay. And honestly, if we would just shut up about it, let people live their lives, we wouldn't have a lot of this shit that's going on. Okay. I mean, you and I, we give a shit less how people dress, what they want to do, or anything else like that. We're not going to treat them any different because they do something different.
It's their life. Let them live. Are you hurting anyone? No, then I don't care.
Exactly. But the way they are trying to force this and so forth is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it is insane. And again, it's this two-tier system. And yet we keep being told that the people who are doing these things, like a Jamaal Bowman, OC, like Laphonza Butler, when they do these things, they break these laws, they break the rules that the very same leftists put out there, that their rules they created. And when we try and hold them to that same standard, we're told we're the bad people, that somehow I'm the bad guy for pointing out the facts, because their truth, their feelings don't match the empirical fact. Therefore, I must be bad.
No.
Makes
You're
sense.
a bad guy because you're not a Democrat and you're black.
Well, yes. That starts. That's the first problem. Yes. They always tell me.
And here's the other thing. Okay. The Democrats like to put up how they're trying to how they're saving democracy with all this stuff.
How? I mean, easiest question. How?
Okay. First off, this country is not now and never has been a democracy. We are a republic.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, part of our governance is through democratic processes, but it is not a democracy. The reason why we are a republic is so that everyone's rights are protected. You want a true democracy? All I need is 50.00000000001% of the vote, and I can do whatever I want. If that means that I can get 50.0000001% of people to vote that Democrats should all be thrown in jail, guess what? All Democrats are going to jail.
That's a democracy.
That is a democracy.
Yeah. Mob rule.
Okay. We are not a democracy. We are a republic because we believe that ultimately an individual rights trump the governance of the nation. Rights are sacred. They are to be protected above government.
But
So
go ahead.
well, I was just going to say that Mike said this a long time ago. Obviously, he didn't say it, but he quoted it as one of my favorite quotes, actually, is from Ben Franklin. And when he came out of the courthouse, and they said, well, so what is it? And he said, well, it's a republic if you can keep it.
We're not doing a very good job of keeping it.
We're letting it go.
Yeah.
We are not doing a very good job of keeping it because they are literally attacking our rights of free speech. They are attacking our rights to exercise our conscience, okay, i.e., freedom of religion, to practice it or not to practice it, to follow your conscience. They are attacking our rights of free press. They are attacking our rights of being able to protect ourselves. Okay, with violations of the Second Amendment. They are attacking our Fourth Amendment protections. They are attacking our Fifth Amendment protections. They are working on attacking our Sixth, Seventh, and Eighth Amendment protections.
Well, here's the thing that I think most people miss. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong, guys. But what most people miss, there is no one to replace us. See, we keep hearing people like the Democratic Socialists of America, the progressive leaders of tomorrow, sometimes known as Plot, and Antifa. We keep hearing these people who are getting a lot of press and are in our news media and in our media in general. They keep telling us, no, there's a better way. There's a better way. Here's the thing. There is no nation in the world that has more freedom, a higher quality of life, more opportunity than the United States. Nowhere. No one has more freedom than the people of the United States, as imperfect as we may be. And if we no longer exist, there is no nation in the world that will replace us. Everyone reverts back to what has historically been the case, which is monarchies, autocratic governments, dictatorships, military juntas. We go backwards in time.
Oligarchies.
Well, and
yeah, go ahead.
I hate that the U.S. is involved as it is in all these other countries, as much as we put our nose where it doesn't belong. But I hope the rest of the world knows that if the U.S. falls, they are fucked.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, because they're being sold and they're being told the rainbow and unicorns and it's all wonderful rose-colored glasses outlook on, no, but we'll change things and they will be better. Except you can't point to anywhere in the world and show me what is better, either before or to this day, that's better than what we are doing right now. Not one nation, not one government that has done more for uplifting people, to the point that the poor of America, you make $12,000, poor, abject poverty in America, you're better off than 61% of the world. You have more creature comforts and you have more comfort of life and quality of life than 80% of the world. No one is as good as us. And they want to get rid of this?
Well, here's one thing, and this is something that everyone should know. The United States Constitution was established a little over 236 years ago. Okay. September was Constitution Day, and we made mention on the show of when it happened. We are the only country that has operated under the same principles as those established in the Constitution for over 200 years. The only country. Every other country, every few years, changes their system of governance in many different ways. Okay, from writing new constitutions, etc. We are the only one to have established a constitution that long ago and operate. Many people, many countries have tried to emulate what we do, but they always put government first, and it has failed every time.
Oh, like Venezuela?
Well, it doesn't matter. Venezuela, you got Russia, you got Germany. I mean, you can go on, okay? But for 236 years, we've been operating under the principle of the people control the government. And we are literally, as a country, there's individuals that are excluded from this, but as a country, as a whole, we are literally giving away the very thing that has made us such a strong nation and has given us the strongest governance in the world. And we are giving it away to a handful of people who think that they know better than we do.
Without any evidence to prove otherwise.
Remember, they don't need evidence, they need feelings.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, remember, government can only solve our problems. We aren't capable.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
We are incapable of solving our problems. I mean, it takes government to solve it.
Yeah, that's the whole point of critical race theory and intersectionality is you're a victim. You're either the evildoer, in particular, you guys are, and I'm the perpetual victim. And there's nothing we can do to change these things except allow government, which is filled with more people exactly the same as all of us, to step in and run our lives for us. That's the only way.
Under the victimhood status, who qualifies as more of a victim? A black trans woman or a black trans man?
Black trans woman.
No. Black trans man would.
No,
actually she wouldn't he wouldn't because he is pretending to be a man. So He's wanting to be a man. So since he's wanting to be a man, he loses victimhood.
Yep.
That's right.
It's incredible. The flow chart that you need to follow the hierarchy of various equity categories is insane.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And that's why you see that's something interesting too.
Wait a minute. Jeremy, what were you going to say?
I feel like I cut Michael off on something important. I was just going to be an asshole for a second, but I'll let
Be an
Michael
asshole.
go.
Don't worry about it.
I was going to ask Vass. I was going to say, when did you go from race traitor to victim?
According to them, the day I was born. I don't know.
Well, here's something interesting to know, and I'd have to do the research on to validate this.
Mm.
But isn't it kind of interesting that you see more men transitioning to being women than you see women transitioning to being men?
I see weak men transitioning to be women to get an easier life because they're not a big enough man to do what it takes to be a man and make a better life for themselves, so they cheat their way into it. That's what I see.
Well, I'll add a qualifier to that. I truly believe that somewhere around 0.25%. See, let's look at this historically. Less than 0.5%. Let's go with round numbers here. 0.5% of the population are trans.
Okay.
That's what they say. And of that number, only half, so 0.25%, actually live their life as trans. The other half, sadly, end their lives because they've made a mistake. We now have magnified that number, and now we have 6% of the youth. We went from 0.5% to 6%. 0.5% existed for pretty much as long as people have been documenting the numbers. We now went to 6% because it's a fad. It's popular. It's in every movie. It's in every TV show. In fact, it is mandated to be in everything. So it's being popularized. It's being glamorized. It's being told that this is what you should do. And children at the young, tender age of 8 are being told that if they do anything that isn't traditional, well, then you must take the drugs, chop the body parts, and change your life. So we have upped the margin of error exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
So could there be people who honestly, truly, and actually are trans? Fantastic. I'll say yes. It's not an argument. Fantastic. There is a percentage. That percentage is somewhere between 1.25%.
Mm-hmm.
Not 1.25%, 1.25%. That's the range. From the high end to the low end, we have 6%. How much damage are we doing to a generation? And we haven't even considered, what if you're wrong? What if we're just wrong, even a little bit? Tens of thousands of children are going to have their lives destroyed because someone's trendy, popular feeling says, nope, that's just the way it goes. That's not a democracy. That is literally a dictatorship.
6% of the U.S. population. That's Wait, hold on. U.S. population is 326 million. Yes or no?
329.
Somewhere in there.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm
rounded to 330. Rounded to 330.
Rounded to 330.
We'll call it 330 million. 330.
33. It's roughly about 15.5 million.
6%. Yeah, 19.8 million people.
Yeah.
19.8 million lives absolutely destroyed because they were told that being normal is wrong.
Yeah. And again, what are we doing about this? So, and again, comes time, which is somewhere between the next 5 to 10 years. Within the next years, we're going to start seeing the consequence of being wrong, even a little bit, because we have set up no safety net There are infinite numbers of genders. We have no safety net. We have not said, okay, what if you're in, I don't know, gender 1,122, and suddenly the next year we say, nope, there's only 55 or 125 or 3, whatever the number is. And we say everything else is wrong. We have no safety net for those people. None.
Right.
So again, another huge millions of people in these categories. We have no safety net for them. And in 5 to 10 years, we're going to see all of these people reacting to having destroyed lives. What has traditionally happened, and again, I'm not picking on them, but this is where we have the data. If we're looking at the trans movement, the trans individuals, within 5 years is when some of these individuals find out they've made a mistake. They cannot change back. There's no coming back. And they take an ultimate action, which I do not advise people to do.
No,
but if that's what has happened in the past, and we have this much of a magnitude of a problem, we're not prepared as a nation, morally, conscientiously, economically. We're not ready for this.
Well, and the hardship of it is when that happens, when let's say a quarter of those 19 million people end up taking their lives because of what happened, it's not going to be publicized as, oh, maybe we were wrong. They're going to ultimately find a way to blame the conservative values for it.
They're going to blame
push
everyone
them to it.
Yeah, they'll blame everyone except themselves. It'll never
100%.
be we were wrong.
Well, I want to ask you guys something. What's one thing that all climate change activists
Greta
say?
Thunberg, what? Gibberish? I don't know what we're
World's going to end. We're all going
Trust
to
the
die.
science. Right?
Okay.
Trust the science.
They said that about COVID too.
Okay. I was getting ready to say that. What did they say about COVID?
Yeah.
Trust the science.
Science says they were wrong.
Why do they discount the study that says that the sharp rise in transgenderism is due to social contagion?
It doesn't
yeah.
match.
There is no science for that.
No, there's scientific peer-reviewed study that basically says the rise in transgenderism is due to social contagion. Okay, i.e., the more it's out there, the more it's promoted, the more it is set as this is how you should be, the more widely accepted it is, and the more that people try to get onto that bandwagon.
It's called a fad. In regular English, it's called a fad.
Unfortunately, this fad is destroying a nation.
It's doing damage. Let me be clear with people. There are groups, transgender groups that are on Twitter. They have speeches. I've gone into the groups. I've talked with individuals to find out more from their perspective. This fad is doing more damage to them than anything else that they want to say. The whole right movement. This is worse. This is doing more damage because it's all about politics. And it's just like everything else we've been talking about with Jamaal Bowman, with Laphonza Butler, like what they did to Dianne Feinstein and the elder abuse. All of these things are examples of party first, partisanship. It is government overreach. It is control. And you do not dare speak up. Otherwise, you're the problem.
And here's the world telling thing. Okay. In the psychological DSM, which is what sets criteria for mental health disorders, gender dysphoria is listed in that.
Mhm.
Okay, as a mental disorder. Now, I'm not saying that people that are trans and feel like they were born in the wrong bodies or this, that, or the other are bad people. Okay, just like I don't believe that people with depression are bad people. But the fact that they are trying to mainstream this so much, it is denying a lot of people the mental health resources that they need to deal with their feelings of being in the wrong body. Whether that means helping them with the depression that is onset from it or the other mental health problems that result from gender dysphoria. Okay, because gender dysphoria in and of itself isn't that doesn't cause people to kill themselves. It is the other psychological issues that are related to gender dysphoria that cause people to kill themselves. Okay, and they're trying to blame it on, well, we aren't accepted and blah 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 blah, all this other stuff. No,
But isn't
okay,
it?
because we can go back and look at history, and during the Jim Crow era and so forth, how prevalent was suicide?
Lower than it is today.
Exactly.
But here's the thing.
Okay, because blacks weren't accepted, right?
Yeah, here's the thing, and I want to tie this back to, because this is all coming from the people, and I think this is true. The progressives have done a phenomenal job of taking control of the narrative within the Democratic Party, within our government, and within our media and entertainment. They are, and again, I point to AOC. They gave us the playbook that they're using. Facts don't matter. Empirical, mathematical, semantic facts are not important. It is only important how you feel at any given moment. Your truth, not the truth, your truth.
Your truth.
Yeah.
Unless you're pushing vaccines or climate change.
Well, again, no, because they based it on their truth, not any of the empirical data that came from all of the doctors around the world, the WHO saying, the European division saying, we're going about this, we're handling this all wrong. This isn't working. The data does not support to double mask, triple mask, or even a single mask. No, there's no data. Even the Merck. I was talking to a virologist recently. I was on a live stream with a virologist from Merck who was talking about, we knew the reason why you have to sign a waiver every time you get that booster is because they know there are side effects. They don't know what they are because they haven't tested the booster, the shots. They don't know what they are, which is why you have to sign a waiver saying, hey, I'm not going to sue you. I can't sue you because there is a side effect. We just don't know what it is or who it's going to affect or how it's going to affect them. That should tell you something. So you can't say, oh, they were basing it on the science. No, they were basing it on their feeling of safety because some politician said, I'm going to make you safe. I'm going to do something. And therefore, you can feel safe, but only as long as you reelect me. Because someone else is going to come up and say, I don't care about your feelings. The facts say that's wrong. And now you don't feel safe anymore, but you may get something effective. But people want to feel safe. And we see this, look at it, immigration. The wall. Walls don't work. 127 out of 147 countries in the world have walls. Norway just put up a wall, or was it Finland? No, it was Norway. put up a wall against Russia. Poland has walls to protect themselves against Belarus. We have Mexico has walls against Central America. Walls exist in every country in the world. We were told explicitly by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in 2019 and 2020 that the day they get in, they were going to end Donald Trump's wall on the southern border to try and secure America's borders. And they were going to open up the borders. January 20th of 2021, Joe Biden did exactly that by executive order. Since that time, in February of 2021, we had a landslide of undocumented illegal aliens and children by themselves, which is child abuse. Landslide. So much so that Kamala was given the job to secure the border, which she has since failed at. It has been so bad that we have 120,000 illegal aliens in New York. Only 15,000 of them came from Texas or the southern border. That's 100,000 illegal aliens just walking into New York because they said we're a sanctuary state. It's costing $12 billion just in New York, which means the lie, the illegal aliens, they make money for you. Then why are we spending $12 billion that New York State doesn't have because we're in debt? Nope, that's just not true. And ultimately, in going down this path, what do we see?
I see Frank.
They have to bring back the wall because feelings didn't protect anyone. Feelings didn't help our economy. Feelings haven't fixed the problem. But the wall, which is a fact, something that 127 countries in the world have, is working. And now they're bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
That should be an answer right there. Hey, Frank.
Frank, welcome in.
Good evening, guys. I don't know how well you could hear me or not. I do not have any of my usual audio or visual accoutrement this evening.
You sound good, Frank.
No, it's perfect.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you guys live from, where are we? Alexandria, Virginia. What is this? Lynchburg. Lynchburg, Virginia. Today we're at the Major Land Snipers Cup, which is a sniper competition ranging from 600 to 2,000 yard shooting competition. And we here with our friends from 5150 Rifles as they debut a couple of their brand new offerings. One is called the Osiris, which I will be getting my grubby little paws on tomorrow. To 338 Lapua Magnum precision sniper rifle that probably costs more than your average brand new car. So I will be trying to throw some lead down range tomorrow with that thing and try to be successful at 1,000 yards. We'll see if I can push it out to 2.
Well, battle site
Very
zero.
cool.
Yeah, it'll take about 7 or 8 seconds for the round to hit the target at 2,000 yards.
Nice.
Yeah, so
that'll be fun.
Just to give a backstory, the Major Land Shooting Cup, Snipers Cup. This is the second year that it's taken place, and the Major Land Sniper Cup is named in honor of Major Land, who was Carlos Hathcock's trainer and commanding officer during the Vietnam War. And I will be meeting him. I will be meeting Major Land tomorrow.
Cool.
Nice. Along with a whole plethora of other noted individuals. They literally have the who's who of the world's finest long distance shooters at this event. There's guys down walking around over here that have on the back of their vests no photographs, no media, because they're not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you an idea of who is actually competing at this event.
Right.
Nice. Well, if you see anybody throwing out their 1,000 yard scope, let me know.
Well, we also
This was not good enough.
Well, Jeremy, you should really be here because tomorrow, 5150 is also debuting a couple of their other rifles. Their 3-burst AR-15, their fully automatic version of the of the rifle. I love the Evolve rifle. And they're also debuting the AKAR, which is a hybridized AK-47 AR-15. It's all the durability and the 7.62 of the AK-47, but with the accuracy and reliability of the AR-15.
Nice. I like the ARACs. They're fun.
Yeah, we're going to be we'll be getting one of those in-house soon enough to give that a test. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a whole bunch of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I'm eating a donut.
I forget that you're like 6'5" and make that donut look like a little piece of candy.
Nah, I'm only 6'3", but
Okay, so
I have the hands of Andre the Giant.
Fucking man mitts.
You do have big hands. That's true.
Bear paws.
So what are you guys?
Your hands.
What have you guys been covering this evening? Well, because Lori and I just got back to the hotel, so we had to miss the first half of the show.
Okay, so
Well, we've been talking about insurrection. We've been talking about,
well, specifically Jamaal Bowman and his act of insurrection.
imbalance in the charging of conservatives versus progressives.
We brushed back up on equity versus equality and the destruction of the American people.
Well, you guys have been covering. All right. Now, have you guys given any coverage so far to the gentleman who was murdered in New York City this past week?
No.
Gotta be more specific.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, there's probably a dozen murders in New York City just today.
I forget the name of the guy.
Was it a political based murder or what? I mean, how can I find it?
No,
the kid with the Dominican gang
gentleman the other night. I'm trying to bring his name. Ryan Carson, I believe. Okay, Ryan Carson is a left-wing pundit, activist who believes in defunding the police, no borders, sanctuary cities, gun control. You don't have a right to defend yourself. You don't have a right to this, that. I mean, he is the epitome of everything wrong with American politics. Well, the guy got married the other day.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And after his nuptials, I guess him and his bride were out in the street in Brooklyn, celebrating at the end of their party, and they were approached by one of New York's more stellar citizens, and he was alleviated of his belongings. And in the process of being mugged at knife point, his mugger decided that he was just going to stab him in the throat too.
Yep.
And the guy wound up bleeding out on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So
18-year-old. The kid's 18 years old.
Yeah, they have a suspect in custody. I don't know much about the suspect. I don't know if but from what I can tell, the suspect is one of the people that this gentleman would generally be championing for.
Yep.
And like I've said on the show a couple of times, the last person to feed the crocodile usually winds up on the menu. Well, all of the activism and the protesting and the gluing your hands to stuff and wearing the uterus hats and everything else that goes along with it. In the end, the bitter reality of life caught up with this gentleman on his on the day he gets married, and he gets himself stabbed to death in the middle of the street. Now, I can't help but imagine to think that if maybe this was a person who subscribed to, my ideological bent, he may have been in a position to better defend himself and his newly married wife.
Not in New York State, he wouldn't be, because New York State makes it impossible to be able to carry, even conceal carry. Remember, it was Governor Hochul who said, no, she has to protect people from concealed carry holders who aren't committing crimes. And this kid had a knife. So you can't even say, oh, it's guns. If you had a gun, what's the old saying? Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. If he had a gun, he would have been able to protect him and his family.
Well, the age-old adage for me is I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
And I'm sure right now that if he can be looking down or up upon himself laying on the gutter, bleeding out, while his wife literally just stood there and did nothing. Even while he's laying on the floor bleeding out, he just stands there looking at him. It took another woman to come over and start yelling, maybe someone should call 911. Maybe in the afterlife he'll be able to send a message that maybe, just maybe, his ideological bent is what may have cost him his life.
He'll get received as spam.
Yeah. It's, I'm not surprised. Again, the consequence of these things we are doing, of the way we are destroying America, it reminds me, I just found out, I haven't been in New York City I'm born and raised in the Bronx, lived all around the world, came back just a couple of months ago. And I'm in the Bronx, and I just found out that there's a section of the Bronx that's called Little Yemen. Brand new. That's new to me. Came up. New York has a lot of little sections, but here's the thing. It made me think of something. We've become so defocused on being Americans. We have people who are from other places living in America, not Americans living together. And that means that we have all these problems that just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And the longer that we keep on promoting, no, but don't be an American, don't have unified values, don't follow the Constitution, including things like self-defense, the more we keep saying that, the worse the problems are getting, because there's no unified answers. Oh, well, no. That 18-year-old kid Dowling is, he's just a victim. We can't blame him. It's some other white man with a different political ideology. That's who's the problem. No, it was that 18-year-old kid with a knife who decided not only to commit the crime, but that he needed to commit murder on top of that. And if we had a unified country that said, if you do this, you're going to be punished, we're not going to accept this. This is unacceptable in our culture as well as in our lives, in our law. Maybe he wouldn't do that if he wasn't being told you're a victim, so you can do anything, and we're just going to have a revolving door. We're going to have a revolving door in our criminal justice system, and we're going to lower the penalties to you just because of the color of your skin. That's an encouragement. We have to be honest with ourselves, and that's
let's look. Let's take a second and look at our example.
0.02.
Do this before bed to stop receding gums and decaying.
Well, that's not it.
25% of adults.
For him to stop his frequent trips home to his home state of Delaware. Look, stay in the White House. Go, work on the problems. But maybe he's got like a secret cave in his house and we don't know about it.
Cave in his house.
Yeah, look, it's yet another case of elder abuse, I think, when it comes to Biden. But look at them leading.
Well, no, that was animal abuse.
Yeah, he kicked the dog because
Kicked
he
right
tripped
in
over
the
the dog. He trips over the dog, so he kicks it.
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I missed that. I wasn't seeing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I miss that.
So did I.
Yeah, run it back. So he walks out of the helicopter, trips over the dog, kicks the dog.
Okay, I saw him. I thought he was tripping twice on the dog.
For him to stop his
Why?
frequent trips home to his home state of Delaware. Look, stay in the White House. Work on the problems. But maybe he's got like a secret cave in his house and we don't know about it.
Oh
Maybe the buffering is just.
no, that was that. Yeah, when they slowed it down and zoomed in that second time, you could see it clear.
Mm-hmm. He turns the dog around so we can kick him in the head.
Well, if we didn't already know the man is a piece of shit, that pretty much guarantees it. You wonder why the dog is biting people at the White House.
Well, that's why they had to remove him from the White House, because he's biting people.
Mm-hmm. He's abused.
But these are these compassionate people. These are examples of the compassion of the progressives. It's really sad. They keep dividing people, and we're not supposed to notice this. We're not supposed to comment about it. We're not supposed to talk about it. Social media is going to ostracize us. They're going to suppress us. They're going to call us names, and they're going to try and fire us from our jobs if they allow us to get hired in these jobs. But yet, the facts don't change. Ryan in New York would be alive today if we didn't have the revolving door of social justice. It doesn't work. Just like open borders doesn't work in preventing illegal immigration. And having a leader who is so detached that he doesn't know where to sit in a room unless he has it on a cue card, and is so lacking in empathy that he kicks his dog, his own dog, for tripping over his dog, because dogs do that. I was walking my dog 2 hours ago, and I didn't see him because it was dark, and I tripped. I didn't go, oh my God.
Dog's fault.
It's what happens. This is part of owning the pet. And if you love your dog, the last thing you're going to think about is, I got to kick you now for being a dog. And these are the empathetic, wonderful leaders that are telling us what we should do. They hate their dogs. They hate other Americans. They hate the laws. Why are we listening to these people?
Well, let's dig into that. Okay. So this week, okay, and I already mentioned it earlier, that Letitia Jones, the Attorney General of the state of New York, was coming out on Twitter about how she's acting so powerfully for the people of New York by charging Trump with fraud for supposedly inflating the value of his properties in order to obtain loans, which he, in return, paid back all of the loans. Most of them he paid back early, or were paid back early. And she's trying to push this narrative of he committed fraud. Except, as we talked about earlier, there are three components of a fraud conviction that this case does not qualify as fraud. If anybody should be accused of fraud, it should be Biden. Here's his statements about the economy and the new job numbers. Okay. Let's get to the date on this. This is dated October 6th. Okay. And as you can see, it's CNN. So it's not a conservative site. Okay. CNN is extremely left-leaning, as we all know.
No.
During a Friday speech about the September jobs report, President Joe Biden delivered a rapid-fire series of 3 false and misleading claims, falsely saying that he cut the debt, falsely crediting a tax policy that didn't take effect until 2023, for improving the budget situation in 2021 and 2022.
Not true.
And misleadingly said that he presided over an actual surplus.
Nope.
Now we'll go into the actual claims. Okay, facts first. Biden's claims were thoroughly inaccurate. First, he has not cut the federal debt, which has increased by more than $5.7 trillion during his presidency so far, after rising about $7.8 trillion during Trump's full 4-year tenure. So Biden is actually on track to exceed the increasing of the federal debt.
By the way, remember, the major part of the Trump spending was in 2020 when we locked down the country and the world. You take that out, that number drops significantly. So, and that's something that's always left out of these numbers. So you're including a lockdown of the country in Trump's number, and Biden is on track to exceed that, and he will. Go on.
Okay. It is the budget deficit, the 1-year difference between spending and revenues, not the national debt. The accumulation of federal borrowing plus interest owed. That fell by $1.7 trillion over his first 2 fiscal years in office. Biden's second 15% corporate minimum tax on certain large profitable corporations did not take effect until the first day of 2023. So could not possibly been responsible for the deficit reduction in fiscal 2021 and 2022. Third, there is no actual surplus.
Wait a minute. Before you go further, again, when they say that there was a reduction in the national debt, let's be very clear about this. That's like when someone tells you you're going to save money by buying stuff in a store. It's not true. You're still spending money. You're not saving money. The national debt increased. It didn't You're saying, and we saved 1.7 trillion. No, we didn't. The national debt increased. We have $33 trillion. We have a budget. We have a ceiling of 35 trillion, which means we will hit 35 trillion on January 1st of 2025. We are increasing the national debt. Joe Biden did not save a dime. So that's misleading, but this is CNN. This is why they word it that way, to make you think that he had a success in this. Doesn't exist. National debt's up. He didn't reduce shit. Go on.
Okay. So, third, there is no actual surplus. Federal government continues to run a budget deficit of well over $1 trillion. Okay, CNN has previously debunked Biden's false claims about supposedly having cut the debt and about the new corporate minimum tax supposedly being responsible for the deficit reduction in 2021 and 2022. The White House, which declined to comment on the record for this article, has corrected previous official transcripts when Biden has claimed that the debt fell by $1.7 trillion, acknowledging that he should have said deficit. As for Biden's vague additional claim that we end up with an actual surplus, a White House official said Friday that the president was referring to how the particular law in which the new minimum tax was contained, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, is projected to reduce the deficit. But Biden did not explain this unusual at best use of surplus. And since he had just been talking about the overall budget picture, he certainly made it sound like he was claiming to have presided over a surplus in the overall budget. He has not done so.
He's lying about all this to cover up. Remember, what was he saying previously about Bidenomics to make everyone think it was okay? None of the numbers matter because unemployment is low. Unemployment is 3.8%. It's been rising. It is going up. And so is inflation. oh, well, now he can't talk about unemployment because it's up. So now he's switching back to numbers. And since the numbers still don't prove that he did anything positive, he's making up his own numbers. He's rewriting history, hoping that people see the headline and not the correction that CNN just put out. And even CNN, like I said, the national debt is up, not down. So again, they're trying to cover for him everywhere they can in this news story. They're just trying to make sure that low information voters, people who aren't paying attention, they see the headline and go, he must have done something good. Don't know where, but it must have happened. Because CNN, they'd have told me, except CNN isn't telling you. This fact check is on page fucking 500, and Biden's lie is on page 1.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Well, listen, before you get too deep into the woods, I'm gonna can out of here because we have to be up at the range at 7:30 tomorrow morning. So we've got an early morning. We got to stuff breakfast down our throat, pack our bags, get our stuff together, and get up on top of the mountain. Just want to leave everybody with this. In getting to the location that we traveled to today, we passed through some very historic landmarks. One of them being the Appomattox Courthouse. And if those of you who are students of history will know, that's where the Civil War pretty much ended. Okay, and on the way to the Appomattox Courthouse, we passed several battlefield cemeteries. During the American Civil War, some 800,000 Americans lost their lives. Those were the men in uniform. Mm-hmm. It is estimated that 1.3 million actually lost their lives from the people that were non-uniformed combatants that fought in one capacity or another. When we got to the location that we were going to this competition today, where they were zeroing in, we see people going up a 2-mile-long trek up a mountain trail, carrying 30-pound rifles, 50-pound rucksacks, tripods, bipods, binoculars, all kinds of stuff. We had a hard time driving up this mountain. These people are carrying all their gear up that mountain. And it reminded me of a quote that said, "From a place you cannot see will come a sound you will not hear." Mm-hmm. And for all these people that are talking about, they keep pushing. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm begging you to stop. I'm begging you to stop. Because we do not need a repeat in this country of what our country went through in 1861. And you do not have an idea at all of the temperature of the fire that you are playing with. Respect your Constitution, respect your citizens, respect our rights, because from a place you cannot see will come a sound you cannot hear.
Yep.
So I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to sign off on behalf of myself and Lori, who's already in bed. You guys be safe, shoot straight. We love you guys. Come Monday, check the YouTube channel for the range report. We're going to have a shit ton of awesome video coming up over there because I'm going full auto tomorrow, baby.
Oh, looking forward to that.
All right, guys. Jeremy, good to see you, brother.
You as well. Good night, Frank.
All right, guys. You guys all be well. Mike, Jeremy, Jan, everybody in the audience, love you. See you guys next week.
All right.
See you, Frank. Thanks. Okay. We've touched on a lot of things already tonight, but I do have one other thing that I do want to touch on. Okay. Michael.
Yeah.
How much did the IRS funding increase from the Inflation Reduction Act?
Wait a minute. IRS funding was 112 million. If I remember correctly, 112 million?
It has increased by $79 billion.
Billion, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So the IRS got from the Inflation Reduction Act, it got an additional $79 billion over 10 years. So approximately $8 billion per year is what the IRS funding has increased.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Robert Reich, you know he's my favorite person. The IRS already collected $38 million in delinquent taxes from more than 175 high-income taxpayers. Now it's cracking down on 1,600 millionaires and 75 corporations that owe hundreds of millions of dollars in past due taxes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't hundreds of millions of dollars a lot less than $8 billion?
Chump change.
Well, even if you were to assume the maximum, 9.999 billion or 0.99 billion. That's it. 0.99 billion. Just under a dollar under
$999,999,999.99
would still not cover 1 year of the increase of the IRS spending.
Right.
Still would be short 1/8. It would still be less than 1/8.
Yeah, it's chump change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But this is how you
So
This is how you
why
get the
did we need that huge increase to recover at this point $38 million?
Because they're arming the IRS. They're building an army out of it.
$38 million. That I'm getting a calculator up here because I want to see what the percentage of that is. Okay, so I'm just going to go with 8 billion because we're only going to use 1 year.
Oh God. That's going to be 100. It's 10%. It's roughly about 4.5%.
Yeah, it's not much. No, it's not. No,
it's like 0.04% or something. It's minuscule.
Did I get the decimal point wrong?
Divide by. It is 0.475%.
Okay, I got
half
the
a percent.
Wrong. I got the decimal wrong. Okay, so it's,
no, I appreciate. Yeah, you 0.5%.
Wow. Yeah, that's effective. All right, there's efficient spending for you.
Only so we just spent and basically obligated ourselves for 10 years for $80 billion to get a return of less than 0.5% of what was spent.
But no, you left out something. That's a one-time return. These are delinquent taxes. This isn't their constant taxes. They were delinquent. They paid up what they owed. It's a one-time tax deal,
right?
Which means you won't get that 0.5%
every year.
Forward. Yeah, it's just once.
It's going to get less.
You will get less. So it's not even. So God help us in 10 years. It's not even effective in year 2.
No.
Right.
No.
Again.
Okay.
That's why they word these tweets the way they do.
Oh, exactly.
You're not supposed to think about it. You're supposed to just
exactly.
that's a big number. It must be important. It must be good. No, let's stop. Do the math. Think for a second. No, he just blew smoke up your ass. And anyone who said that's great, you got smoke blowing up your ass. It's useless.
So I just did some quick math.
And we wonder where. Okay, you keep hearing constantly, we got to fight back against conservative misinformation. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's supposedly what was legitimized in what they did at Twitter. That's supposedly what's legitimized the shadow banning that we're seeing on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Name the social media platform, right? Is because conservatives are spreading so much misinformation. Here, I have just shown multiple sources of misinformation coming from progressives. And it's deliberate misinformation that they are spreading. Okay, folks, do your own research. Don't trust what I say. Don't trust what Michael says. Don't trust what these talking heads are saying through the media, through Twitter, through Instagram, TikTok, or anything else. Do your own research. It took me less than 2 minutes to find out how bad of a return we were getting for this $80 billion we were spending.
It's insane, folks. And that's just on 1 year. And we did that in just on numbers for 1 year. It just gets worse after that.
So like I said, misinformation is real. It is out there. Okay? They are misleading you. And I'm not going to say it's one side or the other because it is all across all of government. And the people that are supporting these parties are the ones that are primary sources of the misinformation. And it's coming from both sides, red and blue. And if you're not doing your own research, finding your own information, guess what? You're the one that's guilty.
That reminds me of something. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, RFK. And we're going to find out by next week on the 9th, RFK Jr., who is a Democrat running for or trying to run for the Democratic nomination for 2024 election. He's going to have a public announcement. Technically, no one knows what he's going to be talking about, what he's going to say. It can only be two things. It's one of two things. Either he's saying he's dropping out of the race, which he won't do before Marianne Williamson, because he's like got 300% more people following him and supporting him. So he's not going to drop out the race. What everyone in politics is going to announce that he's going to run independent. Polls have already been done on this. And if RFK joins the race as an independent, the race becomes, right now, if Joe Biden, Donald Trump, the race is 45-44 according to Real Clear Politics. So that's the average of all the polls you see. It's a dead tie. It's been a dead tie for many, many months. 45 Trump, 44 Biden was the answer as of yesterday. If you add RFK Jr. as a third-party candidate, independent, the race becomes 38-38 Trump, Biden, with 20%, 19% for RFK. RFK can't win. The question that I'm having for everyone is why, since it doesn't change the race, the election stays a dead tie, why is it Democrats are freaking out so much? Why are they so terrified that a guy who can't win, and he can't change the election, He takes votes away from Democrats and Republicans alike. He doesn't change it. He doesn't weigh it for one party or another. He's not going to be a spoiler in 2024. Knowing that, why do you think the Democrats are so angry, and also Republicans for that matter, just although to a lesser extent? Why do you think they're so upset about RFK making the announcement he's going to be an independent? I want to hear what you think first, because I have an answer.
RFK running as an independent. I think that is actually going to be more damaging to Biden than it would be to Trump.
Not according to polls. According to the polls, he takes away from both almost equally, drops them both to 38-38. Leaves it.
Okay. Now, if all three of them run,
yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. If none of the candidates get an absolute 50% of the electoral college vote, then the House of Representatives chooses the president, with each state getting a single vote.
So 435 votes. Maybe no.
437. No. 50 votes.
No, so they would be, so the total combined votes within all the representatives of the state go to one, turns into one vote of that state. Okay.
Yes.
Then I can see why Democrats are upset about that idea. But here's actually, Jeremy, what do you think?
On why it's important or what?
What do you think? Why do you think Democrats are so upset about it?
Well, that's what's shaking my head earlier. I genuinely, I don't know. But I'm excited to hear what you say.
Well, my thought is, hang on one second. So my thought is something very different. Now, I didn't know about the way they would do the vote in Congress. And I think that's important. People should know that. It tells you how little our news media is doing in telling people about what would happen. But here's the part I think they're terrified of, because it breaks the stranglehold of two-party system. Mm-hmm. It breaks the inability of third parties to be heard. It breaks the idea that you only have a choice of two evils, that you can only pick the lesser of evils, that you don't have a choice in who you get to vote for. It suddenly opens that up. If he got 20% of the vote, he would blow away Ross Perot at a time that we're seeing the Libertarian Party, we're seeing the Democratic Socialist Party, we're seeing the Green Party are all surging. Young people are leaving Republicans and Democrats, and they're going to these other parties. They're looking to have their voices heard, because everyone is fed up with, like, Bidenomics telling you everything's great. The economy is doing fantastic. Don't mind the inflation. Don't mind that you can't pay your bills. You can't buy food. Unemployment's up. Everything's great. We're just going to make up the numbers. Don't think about the fact that there's 30,000 Americans who have been abandoned around the world, including 15,000 in the Sudan, which I need to keep talking about because I just heard from a couple of people this week. They've never heard about this. It happened this year in March, and no one knows about it. Okay. They are terrified that having an effective third-party candidate breaks the stranglehold of power. And if nothing else, that makes me interested in seeing him run. Not because I think he's a good candidate, because I don't. I have problems with RFK. He's an isolationist. That's one of the biggest problems I have. Can't be an isolationist as China and Russia, Iran, and North Korea are militarizing. You can't. But he is. So I have a problem with him. But if he were able to break the stranglehold and allow Americans to feel like they can have their voices heard again, that could make people vote. And I think that's terrifying. That's why I think he's being censored so much by Democrats. What do you guys think about that?
Makes sense, actually. Yeah. If you take away the two-party system, or let people see that there is actually a dent in the two-party system, then it gives them hope, which takes away hope from the Democrats, which can make real change.
We maybe start getting effective candidates running.
It's very logical.
And
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So, last time a president was selected by the House of Representatives was in 1825.
I didn't know there was a first time. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. John Quincy Adams was actually elected president by the House of Representatives.
Okay.
Okay. The time before that, the 1800 election between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams resulted in a tie also. Okay, because Aaron Burr pulled votes. Okay, or actually, Jefferson and Burr tied with 73 votes each as the winner to be the president. Okay, and it went to the House of Representatives, which was controlled by Adams, and Adams was actually elected president, even though he wasn't the front runner in the election.
Well, I can guarantee you that if it went there, based on what we've seen since 2000.
Oh no, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
What?
So that, yeah, Jefferson was elected, not Adams.
Okay. Well, looking at this, since if we were to see a tie because RFK is in there, which would again elevate third parties instantly, like we have never seen before. The entire race, you would hear every single Democrat do exactly what they did in 2000, what they did in 2016. Would you say that, well, there's a problem in the election system? Because that's what they said in 2000 and 2016. And, when everyone else said it in an election I can't mention because of censorship, then, of course, we were all wrong. But prior to that, well, it existed because Democrats said so. So we would go through the same kind of process of lawsuits and back and forth in the courts. We would hear that it was, of course, rigged, and of course, Congress is biased, and it's going to be a crap show. And whoever gets elected off of that will be impeached because somehow they or Russia or China influenced the election, even though they won't, or at least not more than they do every year, like every other country does. And then they're going to just impeach somebody because every president going forward is always going to be impeached for the rest of our lifetimes. Every president will get an impeachment. I guarantee you.
Oh yeah.
That's not part of our history.
That's going to be the norm of politics going forward.
Absolutely. Every president for the rest of our lifetimes, or kids today will grow up and never know of a president not having been impeached. It's just
okay.
Part of
and I will guarantee if an independent is elected president or a third party, they will find some way to bring articles of impeachment against him in the House, and the Senate will remove him.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed.
But this is the closest we can get, I think. And again, I do not support RFK, but I always support any voice, anyone who's qualified running for any election, because I want the best person to win always. So
okay, so
go ahead.
I want to just go over this real quick. Okay, so people know what we're talking about on this. Okay. The amendment that basically defines how a president is selected in the event of a tie or not having a clear majority is set by the 12th Amendment and then also by the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. So right here is the 12th Amendment. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name on their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for vice president. And they shall make distinct lists of persons voted for president, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the president of the Senate shall, and the president of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all certificates, and votes shall be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president, if such a number be a majority of the whole number of electors' appointment. That is a key part right there of this. Okay, if such a number be a majority. So in other words, the president must receive at least 50% plus one vote of the electors. Okay, we have 535 electors, so they would have to receive 535 to 278, I think it is. Yes, 278 electoral votes. Okay, if they are one vote shy of that for everybody that's running, then it goes to the House of Representatives. And if no person has such a majority, then the persons having the highest numbers, not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states. That's where the key thing is here. Okay? So it's not 435 votes of the House of Representatives. It is only 50 votes. The representation from each state having one vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states. So you don't even have to have all the states represented. You only have to have 2/3 of the states represented. And a majority of all states shall be necessary to a choice. And okay, this next section was actually stricken out by the 25th Amendment. And as you know, typically the person having the greatest number of votes is vice president, shall be vice president. Okay, since it's party tickets now, which was set by the 25th Amendment, let's get down here to it. Okay, so the 25th Amendment says, it talks about the removal of the president and the order of ascension. Okay, and that is basically where we're at with this. Okay, so yeah, it's primarily set by the 12th Amendment. And essentially, the party ticket will get will be what they're voting on. They'll be voting for both the president and vice president as the entirety, not separately. Even though technically our electors and the House of Representatives are supposed to vote separately for the president and separately for the vice president. Initially, it was when you ran for office, you ran as both vice president and president. And the person receiving the most votes from the Electoral College was the president. and the person receiving the second highest number was the vice president. That was changed under the 12th Amendment. And now you vote specifically for the president and specifically for the vice president. And then with the way our politics have evolved, we now vote for both the president and vice president at the same time with a single vote instead of having separate votes.
See, that didn't take all that much time. It's very straightforward. It's easy to understand. This should be part of basic education about elections, and it's just not. It's just
no,
not.
it's not. And I guarantee the majority of America has no clue what happens if a president doesn't receive over 50% of the electoral vote.
No, I'm absolutely sure 90% of Americans don't know that. But I think it's interesting that now that, and again, this is assuming that RFK runs. This is assuming that the polling, and there isn't a lot of polling on this, but assuming that the consensus is correct, and we wind up with a 38-38-20, 38-38-19 race. And so that's what the numbers turn out to be. And so no one gets a majority and no one breaks the ties. And so no one comes in with a clear win. Then I think they're terrified to let people know what happens next. You're supposed to be in the dark. This is part of the modern election process is you're in the dark. You're not supposed to know you have choices. You're not supposed to know what the next step is. You're just supposed to obey. You were told you have two choices, period. Full stop. Don't think about a third party. Don't think about anyone else. Forget that you have the right to write in any name you want in any election that you want. And I've gotten a lot of pushback from a lot of Republicans and Democrats about that. You're like, don't do it because you're wasting a vote. No, don't do it. It's not going to make it. It matters.
I think we need to run Kilroy for president as write-in.
Mickey Mouse gets roughly every election and gets about 2% of the vote every presidential election. You're supposed to, there's a reason why we have this, whether you're using it as a protest or because you actually think there's a third person not on the ticket that's way better, whomever that may be. We need, I truly believe that we need RFK Jr. in this race, not because I think he's the best candidate, not because I think he's going to win. I think we need him so that it reminds people and invigorates people to be involved. I think that's incredible. And I know a lot of Republicans are going to give me pushback about that. And I know they're going to be pissed off at me for saying that. And I don't care. Because I think if we have good candidates, it doesn't matter that there's a third or fifth guy who's running or gal. It doesn't matter. The best person wins if we have the best person. But we need to get back to, and here's the best person, not just here's what the party wants. We need to break that because it's not working. $33 trillion in debt, 7 million illegal aliens, 140 known or suspected terrorists in America running around right now with summons 3 years from today to show up to decide if they get kicked out of the country. We have inflation has been as high as 17, 18%, currently at about just food inflation alone, over 12%, 3.8% unemployed. Look at the metric.
Spending $80 billion to recover $40 million.
There you go. And we have 30,000 Americans that have been abandoned in war zones across the world. 5,000 in Afghanistan, 10,000 in the Ukraine, 15,000 in the Sudan this year. We cannot continue down this path.
There is one other thing that happened this week, and we would be remiss on if we did not discuss it. because this is rather historical, because it's the first time it has ever happened. In our history.
You know what he's about to say, Jeremy? Oh. Yeah, the speaker. Can't not mention that.
Okay. If you haven't been paying attention, this week, Speaker McCarthy was removed as House Speaker. Okay, so literally, the Speaker of the House is the one that is responsible for bringing matters up for a vote and also bringing matters up for debate. So without a Speaker of the House, everything stops.
Nothing gets voted on.
Okay, there is absolutely no legislation done until a new Speaker for the House has been selected. That is by House rules. Okay, so whether or not you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, the fact is this is a very historic thing because there has never been a Speaker of the House removed as Speaker. Removed while they were Speaker of the House, I should say. Okay, and right now, nobody's been selected. Okay, this happened October 3rd.
Yeah. Trump's been nominated. Jim Jordan has been nominated. Those are the big names that have been nominated. Mm-hmm. And I think Jim Jordan will win.
Oh, I think Jim Jordan will win, okay, because he's really the only one that anybody's going to really vote for, honestly.
Realistically. Jeremy, who do you think is going to be Speaker?
I think Jim Jordan's the only one that will fit in there. Obviously, they won't go for Trump because they want him to run again. And I just think there's a conflict of interest there. But I can't think of anyone else who's even been mentioned that would have any bit of a chance.
No one in the Progressive Caucus.
Speaker of the House is actually, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check this real quick. But if I'm not mistaken, the Speaker is chosen by the majority party.
I believe they're put up for vote by the majority party.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, they're put up for vote by the candidates come from the majority party, but they're voted on by everyone.
Gotcha.
That's how I've always understood it. And because the majority is obviously usually voting in a block, that's why no one ever talks about the minority, because the minority party always loses. They don't have enough votes. Right. They can't change it. But it's also why you see sometimes like voting out. It's the same thing with how did they get rid of him? While the vote was called for by Matt Gaetz, because he's in the majority party, and that was part of the deal that McCarthy made to get elected in the first place, because it only took 15 votes to get him in. Because that was part of the deal, that could only come from the majority party, but the vote included Democrats as well. But their vote was not important because, again, they were the minority. The thing that was really important were the Republicans that voted in it.
My camera is going to drive me crazy. I don't know if you can see the flickering or not.
Oh, yeah, it's been doing that all show.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts.
I don't know. I can't see anyone else. And Jim Jordan, honestly, he didn't want it. Beginning of the year, he didn't want to be speaker then. I don't think he wants to be speaker now. But I think he's the only one who can do it.
Well, if you were to choose somebody, who would you choose to be in that spot to represent.
Actually, I was asked that question on Tuesday. My answer is Jim Jordan. That was the first name in my mind. Jim Jordan would be the best. If not him, believe it or not, Thomas Massey. Massey, or I can go with Rand Paul.
Okay. Yeah.
Now those two, not because I think they're especially strong, not because I think they're impressive, but I think they put a new focus that isn't as party centric into what happens next.
I think Rand Paul as Speaker of the House would be interesting.
It definitely changes the way we wouldn't be funding all. We would see a serious cutback in our budget. The deficit would be reduced, actually be reduced, not slow down in spending, but reduced.
Actually, I was wrong. Jan Raines actually has it right. Very, very well done, Jan. Each party puts forth their nominee to be Speaker of the House. Okay, and then the House as a whole votes. Okay, and other people can also put in their bid to become Speaker of the House. They don't actually have to be nominated by their party. However, if they go against their party, they're typically shunned by their parties. That's why we typically see the majority party selecting the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know both parties voted on it, but majority wins because majority.
Right. And it's pretty much a party line vote. So, yes, Democrats will put up Jeffries, and the Republicans are trying to figure out who they're going to put up.
Yeah, Jeffries is never going to win.
The Republican
Even the Democrats wouldn't vote for Jeffries. He's a progressive. He's not a Democrat. And there's a massive difference between the two. Even the Democrats wouldn't vote for Jeffries because he's insane. He's a progressive, and progressives are out of their mind.
So,
every example.
But until then, right now, the person presiding over the Congress and presenting the vote, but the only authority for the vote that he has, that he's able to present, is the clerk,
right,
of the House of Representatives. And he only has the authority to bring to vote the nominees for Speaker of the House. Okay, so literally all legislation in the House of Representatives has ground to a halt until a new speaker has been selected. And by rights, that vote should have taken place immediately after McCarthy was ousted.
I think it's interesting. Now, the question is going to be, with Jordan getting in, because most likely it's going to be Jim Jordan.
More likely.
Unless someone makes a big deal. Like, I know Nancy Mace, there were some rumors that she wanted to go for it. She's not going to do it. Mind you, I like Nancy Mace. I think she's a pretty good congresswoman. And I think she's been right on top of a lot of issues, but I don't think she's got the friends necessary. Jim Jordan's been around long enough, too long. Should have been term limits out, but whatever. But he has the charisma. He has the tenacity. He has very defined views. So everybody knows exactly what they're getting when you get a Jim Jordan. So there's no surprises. Like, one of the reasons why Hakeem Jeffries will never win, because the progressives have a hidden agenda. They have an additional agenda. It's not to support the Constitution. It's not to support what's going on right now. It's to replace the Constitution with the UN human rights initiatives to destroy the cornerstone of our government. That's what, I mean, all you have to do is go to Democratic Socialists of America, look at what they have published, what the progressives have stated. they want a socialist system. So that's just a step too far.
Well, it's not just that they want a socialist system. They want a one world government.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
Okay,
ultimate
that is
goal.
exactly what they want, and that's what they are pushing for. And that's what you are seeing being pushed for by the Club of Rome, by the World Economic Forum, by the WHO, by the UN. You are seeing this push for a single world government. And every country will have to acknowledge the supremacy of this single world government.
One world, one people, one power.
Okay, that's why you're seeing a lot of narrative around how we are global citizens.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that'll get tied into citizen scores and all that, and it'll be so much easier to track, and all the things that they'll be able to do to control you if they can control everyone.
Terrifying thoughts. Terrifying.
No, absolutely. They'll take after China in a hard way on that. Your social score will be what determines everything. If you get the job or if you don't get the job, if you get the ticket or if you get out of a ticket, if you go to jail or you go to prison or you get the death sentence or not, your social score will determine every factor of your life.
It will. Okay. And that is what they are working towards. And your social credit will be tied to what you are allowed or not allowed to purchase. Your social credit will determine the type of house you are allowed, the type of vehicles you're allowed to drive, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And honestly, the majority of us will have to rely on public transit because that is what they are pushing for.
And for the people who are having a hard time waking up and realizing this, you're not going to start up here and get dinged. You're going to start on here and have to lie, cheat, steal, and kill to work your way back up.
Yeah.
You won't
Everybody's going to start off with a social credit score of 0.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'd be minus whatever. But yes, the regular people would be at 0.
You're going to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Oh God, yeah. They'll find a new low level. Just it's like you're in the sub basement, Mike. And I'll dig myself lower, I'm sure.
I need to go to bed.
Yep.
I'm tired.
Yeah, we need to get things wrapped up. We're at
I have
2.5 hours.
thoroughly enjoyed this, but I am falling asleep.
No. It's about that time here too.
Yeah.
So we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We're here every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I want to remind everybody that we do have our membership drive going on. It's ongoing. Okay, if you like what we're doing and you support what we're doing, please become a member. Okay, we need these funds. We are actually in the process of working on some really major things to start restoring our country back to its original foundation, and that is a foundation of governance by the people. But we can't do it alone. Okay, a voice of one is never heard. A voice of many is always heard. Join the voice. Become the voice of many. Let's start getting our voices heard. Thank you, everybody in the comments. We do appreciate it. And thank you for everybody for watching. And we will see you next week.
Great
Same time.
Jan.
Every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Good night, everybody.
Night, guys.